So the month is reset. You do your hell raid, you kill all the bosses, you get your 10 Queen's Guard badges, and you're debating on whether you want to pick up the speed sword, the 88 speed sword, or the 88 immunity chest. In this video, I'm gonna go through why I think one has more value than the other, so stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to another session of tips and change. So in this video, like I said in the intro, we're gonna go through why I think the immunity chest, the 88 immunity chest for Hell Raid, is more worthwhile than the speed set sword. I have, myself gotten many of the speed set swords, especially at the beginning when I was progressing through my game. As you can see there, I have, 10 88 speed swords. And then on the immunity side, I have 11. So at this point, because there was a certain point where I started realizing that the immunity chests hold better value. Now, instead of just, using subjectivity, which I think this topic in and of itself is highly debatable, I think it honestly depends on what you need. But in my experience, the 88 immunity chest is honestly the best value, mainly because it's hard to get immunity gear. I'm going to go through that as well. But first things first, if you haven't noticed, since this video recording is taking place with the 90 meta in mind, most players would, most likely get the 90 gear as like the ultimate gear. So for example, just here, I have like a couple good like 90 pieces, right? Like this is pretty solid. You're gonna get some good 88 pieces too. If you do understand that the 90s in terms of substats are only a slight increase, and not all the stats, but most of the stats slightly increased in terms of like value or maximum roll when it comes to the 90 over the 88. Attack has a higher benefit, speed technically has a higher benefit. There's pros and cons to all the substats, but that's, that could be a video in and of itself. But first thing I want to point out too is that the base stat. So as you can see there, the 88 chests have 310 defense. The 90 chests have 310 defense. We're talking about base stats right now. So as you can see this, even in this, I think this is arena armor or something else. I don't remember actually. But that 88 as well, you can see the 310, right? When we go to with the weapons, which will be speed set. Let's go for a speed set only. You see that you get a drop. So in the 88s, you only get 515 attack, whereas the 90s you get 525. And like I said, this is the difference between the 90 gear. When it comes to percent attack, 90 gear actually have more value, but like I said, that will be a video in and of itself. But if you never noticed that, the I-90s do have higher flat attack, and when you're min-maxing your heroes, this is going to matter. I don't know, it actually bothers me when I know that in the 90 flat attack you get 10 more attack, especially when you're going for DPS. I would say, like right now, if you're weighing the speed 90 gear versus the speed 88 gear, the speed 88 gear would be more beneficial if it rolls more bruisery stats, so that being more like HP, speed, and crit rate over attack. Over attack, it's actually more value if you roll attack in an 85 gear and you roll into 90. So for example, I have a couple here that is used on like more of my tanks, like this. Like my last rider Crow is using this with 39 health. I mean, you can technically get as good or better with 90, or actually technically only as good when you're talking about the substat roll itself. But again, you're still missing 10 flat attack, and Last Rider Crow, any sort of knight bruiser, like a knight pseudo DPS tank, will still benefit from every ounce of stats that you put into it. And that's where I feel that in terms of just the flat stat value itself, immunity chest wins over the weapon anytime. I understand why people do go for the speed set sword, because if you do get high speed in a speed set, it's way easier to move around in terms of building a speedy opener or speedy DPS, since that a lot of the stats here do have DPS stats. But like, I think when it comes to like the weapon itself, like I would much rather roll something like this, which has attack, crit damage, crit rate, and speed. Of course, you're banking on RNG to get the probability, and with the 88, you cut like a ton of RNG, since you already know the substats that will go into it. But the same thing for the immunity chests. So the immunity chests, because right now, especially, these videos are aimed for kind of like mid-game players and people who want to progress now. Maybe you want to hit RTA, maybe you want to hit Challenger, maybe Champion. These tips, although I'm not an RTA expert, these tips will be transferable down all the way to, Legend players. I know, again, like I said, every player has their own specific, justification from one or the other, like the immunity chest versus the speed sword. But like I said, like when you're talking about stats, both of them have the same possible rolled, possible substat roll probability. It's just that the stats are different. When it comes to the immunity chest that they've designed really does work for almost anyone. It could work for DPS, it can work for bruisers, it can work for knights, like specific just tanks, it can work for even healers. While I'm making this video recording, we will be seeing a substat reroll change soon. With that being said, my value system is still siding on the immunity chest, based on just because of the flat stat you gain, the main stat. But you could definitely based on the design right now, hold on, let me just actually set this both to immunity and speed, so we get both. With the substat reroll coming in, even with that in light, like you can technically, change the health to crit damage and basically get to what I was showing here, like the very, offensive, what do you call it? Offensive weapon. But you can't really change this to a very healer. Like you won't be able to make this into a healer weapon, since the substat reroll system is you're only allowed to roll one substat. Now this is pending that they do release it, that you can roll it on an 88, but based on the information we have right now, it seems to be the case. So if you're let's say using this on a healer, you technically want two substats changed, which would be crit rate removed and attack removed, replaced with either flat health or effect resistance. We're talking about just the healer. But on the chest, when we're talking about the immunity chest, oh, you can't select both. Okay, hold on. When we talk about the immunity chest here, we already have 3 usable substats for health, defense, and speed for the majority of the heroes, right? So you can change the crit rate to crit damage if you have, like, let's say hero with a crit rate neck, or you have really high crit chance on someone else. You could change it to effect resistance. It makes it into a more healer type of armor. It could be effectiveness if you need it on, let's say, a Sage, Baal, and Sazan, some kind of debuffer. I have like these chests on like Politis and stuff. I'm gonna showcase some of the heroes that are wearing these, so you kind of get the range of the versatility of this armor. You could change it to anything really. So it's gonna be more versatile in that sense as well. So that is the second part, is the substat reroll implementation. When it comes in, I think the chests again hold more value. So if you're watching this video before that change comes, keep that in mind so that you can start investing in this right now, because I know that at least I think we have about 2 months from the video recording right now, 2 months before that substat reroll system gets implemented. So you have at least 2 months now to get 2 hell rate chests, and again, like I said, I think it's the better value. The other aspect is that when you're weighing the 2 hunts, Azimanic versus Wyvern, you're going to farm Wyvern a lot more. So in terms of just getting speed set gear, you're just gonna have a lot more. And the other thing is, I mean, this could be another video as well, converting gear also becomes a big thing. So I wouldn't recommend, unless you're really lacking immunity, I wouldn't actually recommend you using your essence or your gems, your conversion gems, on anything but speed. You'd have to really be like looking for like a lifesteal build or an immunity, like really specific, and you want to, like, you know, expand your immunity set in order to use these gems on an immunity. I would usually say, you know, go for speed, because speed set will be interchangeable on almost any class, any type of build. Of course, not like talking about counter or lifesteal, but you'll get more value out of it. So I mean, that could be a video in and of itself. But in terms of like, you're gonna be getting more speed set gear regardless. So where is your immunity gonna come from, right? So in terms of like, you know, both Azimatic 13 and Wyvern 13, if you can farm both, Azimatic generally is slower. If you watch my other tips and change video, I mean, I do recommend you watching one where I talk about efficient friendship farming. Azimatic hunt technically is pretty easy. Hold on, I'm just gonna quickly show. Pretty easy. It's, in a way, it's easier than Wyvern, because all you need to do is cover your roles. You have a tank if you want damage mitigation. You want to strip debuffs, strip buffs. You want to be able to cleanse debuffs. And you want to be able to do AoE. That's all it pretty much takes. And have some sustainer, of course, some healer or something. This is all pretty self-explanatory. There are one-shot comps, but if you're watching this video, you probably like don't have a one-shot comp. So Azimatic ends up being a longer hunt than Wyvern, because naturally Wyvern, you want to kill him as fast as possible, otherwise he wipes your whole team. So in the nature of the two hunts, Azimatic's gonna take longer, so therefore 1 out of 3 chance to get the set you want, which is immunity most of the time. And in Wyvern, it's gonna be quicker. So even if you don't have a really solid Azimatic team, your Wyvern team is most likely more robust, because that is honestly the hunt you want to focus on anyway. So you're gonna be getting more speed set than you are immunity. Since speed is 4 pieces, it makes sense that, you know, when you're farming Wyvern, you want to be able to complete good 4 pieces, solid pieces to make builds. Immunity, you only need 2, right? So if you can get the Hellray chest, you're already eliminating that one that's, again, pretty crucial. It's got really good substats, like we talked about. With substat rerolling coming in, it's going to be even more solid. You're already getting rid of one of the 2 pieces, with a decent, you know, possible rolled gear, right? So in that sense, again, immunity wins, for me at least. This one's not equipped, as you can see. This one didn't roll really high for me. This one, I have it on Politis. Politis doesn't really take a lot of really good stats. Like, you can build a really good Politis, but she doesn't really need it. Fallen Cecilia on this one, he's got 23 attack, and he's got crit rate. Mine's a bruiser. That's why the emphasis on the crit rate. Last Rider Crow, you got HP, you got defense, you got speed. Spectre Tenebria, mine, I try to make her a bit more HP. It's got defense, it's got speed, it's got crit rate. Very good for her too. Sage Ball All, so you can see the versatility between like tanks, debuffers, DPS. Sage Ball All here, because being a Taurus mage, he has higher defense. Higher base defense, so the defense percent really good there. But Taurus mages also have really high HP, base HP, over 5k, so 16% really good there. And then the speed, General Purgus, this was on one that I really couldn't fit on one of my core heroes. My General Purgus is for Wyvern. This one's not used. This one's on SSB, very tanky, very nice. You got some speed, but you got some crit rate there as well. Holiday Euphine on this, she's one of my farmers. Adventure Roz, I'll show you guys like the kind of like the full builds as well, so you guys kind of see like how much weight those immunity chests carry. And like I said, one of the biggest things is obviously rolling immunity in a way is also more RNG than speed. I would say immunity and speed set both are considered what I would consider neutral sets, as in they could be used on all types of heroes. Whereas like, you know, obviously crit set is usually for DPS, rage set obviously for DPS, lifesteal set generally for some sort of DPS, otherwise you can't siphon back to health. Let me go through like some of the builds up with it on. You can see like it carries a lot of the stats that I need, and like I said, with the substat reroll, that 6%, that means it's an untouched crit rate. That 6% could be something else that I might want, although I'm not 100% sure how much I want to invest in, you know, converting that piece of equipment to something else, unless I'm 100% sure that equipment will never leave, let's say, my last rider crowd. Let's say if I want to chase more effect resistance, like it might be usable on a DPS later in the future. Maybe I still want the crit rate, so that will be, you know, that would be debatable when we get to that point. What else did I have? I had SSB. Let's go for SSB. Swap this over. So yeah, that's my SSB. With this chest, she gets to be like, you know, pretty tanky. So a lot of my tanky stats are being held on this chest piece alone. And like I said, because, you know, being an immunity, you only need to find one more piece to complete your heroes. Now, I do a lot of account reviews. Lately, a lot more account helps, where I go through like the player's gear. And it's just a lot of the times I seem like, oh yeah, you're lacking immunity on these heroes. You're lacking immunity on these heroes. I think A-Roz was another one that I was talking about. So like that right there, I mean, it's not like, you know, it could be better. You know, builds can always be better when you get really good gear. But again, like once that chest is solidified, and you got a good one, you just gotta find a decent immunity on the other 5 pieces, right? Just one more. So it's a lot easier to find. And like I said, I mean, all gear, if you want to roll high stats, is pretty tough. But if you buy the immunity chest, and with the rate of farming Azimatic versus Wyvern, it's just, I think, just overall better value to get the immunity chest. Was there anything else I had on that list? Oh, let me double check. My FCC is pretty bad, so I'm not gonna show it. It's a bruiser FCC. Actually, Politis is okay. I did showcase Politis on her own separate video, but I never changed the build. Again, this chest was like, it wasn't used on anyone, and it's just like, okay, I needed some speed, I needed some HP, some defense to make it kind of tanky, at least the way I wanted to use her. And I'm just like, okay, I'll just throw this on. Holiday Eupheme was a pretty good one too. But again, she's my farmer right now. I'm farming friendship for her. Actually, she's almost level 10. I'm very happy. She has this for the side story, so just ignore that. Everything else is not completed, but I just wanted 100% crit rate. So this one had 14, you know, and she could use some of the beefy stats as well. Again, it depends on the build you're going for. This is just tossed together just to get the friendship to level 10. I'm glad that she's almost there. Was there anything else? Oh, Spectenny. Spectenny is the last one. I guess I showed that one. That I really wanted to show. So yeah, right there, that's my Spectenny. The HP, the defense is a bit low, but I wanted the HP to be even higher than that. But this ended up being a decent piece. So Spectenny being a mage, again, have high base defense. The HP is definitely very low on Spectenny. Crit rate is also hard to get on her because she wastes, well, if you consider it a waste, she uses 2 awakenings for effectiveness. So yeah, so the crit rate there is very nice, the speed is nice. So it's just kind of like, you know, it ends up just being like one of the most worthwhile ones. Like I had, as you saw in the kind of like the examples of the weapons, I think I had like some stuff, like Ambitious Taiwan on this one is actually pretty funny too. But again, like, you know, maybe I didn't want the attack, maybe I didn't want the crit rate, depends on your build. It's all a bit subjective, I will admit, but hopefully I made some good cases in terms of immunity. Regardless, if you are a mid-game player and you're watching these for tips and change, the main thing is that you definitely have to start thinking about building immunity. I can't tell you how many times that, like, when I was pushing RTA in Arbor season currently, when I was pushing RTA, I was noticing like the dramatic shift, like from challenger to champion. Champion players having immunity on that first turn, honestly, like, you know, throughout like 50% of what I relied on when I was climbing Challenger. So when you start pushing higher, you will start noticing the tactics that you may have banked on. Let's say Assassin Sid to silence one of their openers, let's say F10E. And if F10E has immunity and she's bulky, then Assassin Sid is not really going to do much to help the team, that is. Especially if they're all on immunity. So even if he contests the speed, he can't silence, so he can't disable, he can't push back, and if he can't kill, you basically drafted a useless hero. So in terms of like the heroes you will want to build eventually, and this is why like the toppest of the top players, most of them, unless they're running like a 300 speed hero and they really can't fit immunity because they didn't roll the speed, the toppest of the top players will most likely be running even their fastest heroes with immunity set. I've seen like Falcon O'Cleary's at 280 speed with immunity, top model Luluka, ML Luluka with like 250 speed, high damage with immunity, Fairy Tail Tenebria's like 280, 285 speed with immunity. Everything starts needing immunity. So if you're watching this as a mid-game player and you want to start investing in the right direction, at least right now in terms of all the sets that we have, immunity is very, very big. And therefore, if Hell Raid, it can offer you something that's already better than the 88 sword in terms of just pure stat value, why not go for the immunity right now? Anyways, hopefully that was useful, and hopefully I made, you know, some points that will convince you to go for the immunity set. Again, as I reiterate, I can't actually count how many accounts that I've tried to help, and a lot of it falls to, you know, it's either like you gotta farm more Wyvern or you need to get more immunity. It's either one of those two. Yeah, generally the ones who have Wyvern kind of farmed like pretty healthily. Healthy, is that the word? Healthily? Pretty healthy Wyvern farming going. The next step would be start getting immunity. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful. If you guys like these videos, tips and change, make sure you just subscribe to this channel, as I will be releasing these kind of tidbits that help my progression. Yeah, so I'm gonna end this for the video recording. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.